From Cornwall to Birmingham and Johnston and Bexhill, here's Ruben Spar on the radio.
Hello to the Joff Lowson Trio. How are you today?
Yeah, really good. Been doing social media posts all day and got a lot to talk about because this is my first radio interview in over 10 years and a little bit nervous, but I've got another one on Friday, so I better get used to it quick.
So can you tell me, how long have you been playing the banjo for? Because I know you've been doing it from so young age.
Yeah, well, I actually started playing when I was, before I was even 5 years old. There's a video of me playing guitar when I was 5. And, some of my earliest memories is fooling around with these instruments, which were too big to hold. And they'd sit them on my lap and play away. And I had the Pete Seeger banjo book, which is a fantastic book. And I learned a few things from that, but I couldn't really learn to play the way I wanted to play, which was bluegrass style or scrug style, they call it. So I didn't really get started with that until I was 14. And that was off the Peter Wernick instruction book. So then as soon as I got that instruction book, I was flying and then I've been playing ever since. So, I'm going to be 60 in a couple of weeks. So you do the maths. What's that? 45? Well, it depends whether you count it from 14 or 5, really. But, it's a long time anyway.
So what kind of banjo have you got?
I've got 5 at the moment. So I've got an acoustic. And if I'd been expecting this question, I'd have had them racked up just here. But they're just around the corner. I could just nip around and get them. But I've got all the same, actually. Yeah, so most bluegrass players play banjos with a back on. But I don't like that. I play the backless, and it's a bit lighter, and I prefer the sound. So this is the acoustic backless, sometimes called the old-time style banjo. And this is the one I use when I go to folk sessions in pubs and stuff. But the one I play on stage is this one. So I'm just going to drop it, and it's going to make a clanging sound. So this one is the one I play on stage. And this is basically the same as that, but it's got a sealed back, which reduces the amount of sound. So on the bluegrass banjo, the purpose of the back is to make it louder for the acoustic sound. This does the opposite, makes it a lot quieter. So when I'm playing late at night, my neighbors like me. And also when it's plugged in, it sounds better to me. It's easier to play. It's easier to plug into a PA. So that's the one I use.
So can you tell me more about your debut single called All the Bananas?
Well, that is a song that I'm very proud of because, I've been writing songs for an awfully long time, and most of my songs are not really good enough for me to want to perform them in front of other people. And over the last sort of 40 years, I've written just a handful of songs which I am comfortable performing in front of other people. But this particular one, I was inspired to write it by my friend Alma in Mexico. So I went to visit her. She's a Native American woman that I go and spend time with every now and again. And while I was there, this thing came up on Facebook which said, imagine some scientists went into the jungle and found a tribe of monkeys, and just 1% of the monkeys were hoarding all the bananas, so that most of the monkeys didn't have enough bananas. And and the scientists, and then even though they had enough bananas to last a whole lifetime, they still carried on hoarding more bananas. Well, if it was monkeys doing it, the scientists would say, well, that's really weird. We need to look into this. But when humans do it, we say, well, this guy's really successful. We should look up to him. He's an inspirational role model. And so that gave me the idea to the monkeys with all the bananas. And as soon as I'd got this idea the monkeys with all the bananas, I knew straight away that was a great hook for a song. So I actually started writing in Spanish originally because I was over visiting Alma, but that wasn't gonna get my career much further. So after I got back to England, I started writing in English, and I just spent a couple of months every time I had a spare few hours thinking about what those monkeys might get up to with all the bananas. And I wrote, 40 or 50 verses of stuff. And then eventually just whittled that down to what's in the song now. So I wanted to keep it light, I could have gone in a few quite dark directions with it, I reckon. But in the end, I decided I wanted to keep it light and humorous as possible. So that's where we are. And I'm playing with Dave Brown and Mike Pryor now, and they're really good friends. I've known both of them 30 years. And they're brilliant musicians, but the thing is, we've never played in a band together before. So I was in a band with Mike a long time ago, and I've played a few gigs with Dave back in the day, but the three of us have never played together. So starting this new band with Dave and Mike is fantastic because I've got the best of both worlds. It's completely fresh, and I feel really comfortable at the same time. So, they've given me a tremendous amount of support and encouragement. And, we've been doing the band for a couple of years now. And without those guys' encouragement, I don't think I would have, I probably wouldn't have written this song for a start, but I probably wouldn't even be putting my own songs into the set, because we also do traditional bluegrass. That's the basis of what we do. But they've given me a lot of encouragement to include my original songs, and we're slowly padding it out now. So we've got more and more original songs in the set, and still do a few traditional ones. But anyway, that's how All the Bananas came into being. And then we were very lucky because we had a recording session booked. We had a gig that was just 2 days before the recording session. And then I literally finished writing this song just the day before the gig. So we managed to get it in the gig, performed it live, went down really, really well. And then we went into the studio the next day and had all of that energy from just having played it live the night before. And I think we captured all that live energy in the recording. So that's pretty much the story of it.
So here you've been in the studio recording an album. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, well, that's, an album of all my original songs. Like I said, I've written a lot of original songs, but a lot of them I wouldn't want to play in front of other people. But after a lifetime, I've finally got enough original songs to put an album together. Plus a few songs written by some really close friends of mine. So, I mean, there's going to be some amazing songs on this album which aren't by myself, but mainly I'm focusing on my own songs at the moment. So, I'm not quite sure how we're going to release the album yet. So that's still in the works, but that's going to be great when it finally comes out.
So if you put it on CD, I quite like CDs. So if you put it on CD, that'd be good for me.
Cool. All right. Well, give me your email address, because I need to follow up with you and get your Instagram handle and all that, and tag you in on some Instagram posts too.
Can you tell me more about your up and coming tour that you starting on the 25th of January at the Star Pub in Bristol?
Yeah, well, we've got a few gigs booked in. The Star Pub is one of my favourite pubs in Bristol, and they have probably the best traditional music scene in Bristol going on there now. So they have live acoustic jam sessions pretty much every night of the week. They have Irish sessions twice a week, bluegrass every other week, and they even have a flamenco session, believe it or not. And then they also put live bands on at weekends. So we'll be playing there. And then we're in the Fringe, which is another favourite pub in Bristol. We're there on the Sunday. And I'm going to have my 60th birthday there a few weeks after. So that's hopefully going to be packed out for that. And then we're playing in Pontardawe. So we've got a few in Wales now. I've been in Wales before, but I've never played with this lineup in Wales. So we've got 2 in Wales coming up. There's the Pontardawe Valley Folk Club. When's that? That's Sunday 23rd, lunchtime. And we're also going to be in Cardiff a bit later on. So that's kind of the highlights of it.
So what about do we go a bit further afield? What about Birmingham? So, because I know Birmingham very popular with independent artists.
Well, I met a guy. I met a guy last autumn. I was doing a gig, and I was approached by this guy who said he wanted me to play in Birmingham, but I never followed up with him, or he never followed up with me. So, yeah, I mean, I used to play social clubs in Birmingham back in the 90s with a guy called Martin Hoyle. So we used to go over and play. Well, I don't know if it's a funny story or not, but all the social clubs used to be booked up so far in advance that by the time it came round to it, everybody had forgotten who was supposed to be playing where. So there was this guy called Diamond Dave who used to round up people to go and do these gigs every Saturday. And so one time I turned up, and the organisers were not at all pleased. And they said, "You aren't the band we booked." And we said, yes, we are. And they said, "No, you're not. No, you're not." And we said, "Well, we've had a few lineup changes since we last played here." And they said, "I'll say you were all black last time."
So, have you got any future plans of touring in Europe or further afield?
Well, I've got a few contacts in London, and a few of my friends play in London, so I want to try and do that. Apparently, there's wheels in motion to get us on at Cambridge Folk Festival. I've just been invited to play at festival in Devon in June. We're playing at Didmarton Bluegrass Festival in Oxfordshire. That'll be in the autumn. So, I mean, at the moment, my main focus is on promoting the singles and getting the word out there, and hopefully more gigs will come back from that, because, I've been trying cold calling people, and when you've got nothing to show them, they don't tend to return your calls. So it's been like talking to a brick wall. But hopefully with this new single out, and now we're on national radio as well. And so hopefully that'll get us a bit more attention and open the door to getting a few more gigs.
So I'm guessing you're an independent artist?
Oh, yeah.
So what's it like being an independent artist for you?
Well, it's funny because, for years, I just did gigs locally around Bristol. And I've got plenty of contacts around Bristol. I can get as many gigs as I want. I don't have to travel far. And then I decided I wanted to try and up my game a bit, which is why I've done all this recording and so on. And it was tremendous fun doing the recording and writing the songs, and that part of it was all great. But then ever since then, I've been trying to promote the music and going on social media. So I never used to do social media, but I've started now. So quite honestly, it just means being an independent artist just means spending an awful lot of time doing social media. So I used to practice the banjo like 3 or 4 hours a day and then go out and play with my mates in the pub. And now I'm spending, like today I've spent all day doing social media, and now I'm doing this interview, which is great. Thanks for having me. But it means I've barely played the banjo all day. So I really need to find a way of balancing it so I can spend more time actually playing the banjo every day, because I think my playing will get a bit rusty if I don't.
So, what was it like going into the recording studio, recording your debut single?
Well, like I say, the main thing about it was working with Dave and Mike. And like I say, it's a new musical project. We've never played together, the three of us, but I've known them both 30 years, and I love them both dearly. they're just brilliant blokes, actually. And so I just felt tremendously supported, and more importantly, I knew they were going to play the right notes. So what we're doing is we're stretching bluegrass a lot. Trad bluegrass is fairly simple, 3 chords, same rhythm on everything. We're trying to do something a bit further on than that, which is why I call it the postmodern bluegrass. And it means that everybody in the band has to really be on top of their game. And and it was great going into the studio and just thinking about, well, I've got to sing and I've got to play, and knowing that Dave and Mike were going to nail their parts. So yeah, and we had a great sound engineer, actually, Josh. We did it in Stage 2 Studios in Bath. I could give them a shout out, because Josh was fantastic, and he was, again, really supportive. And if I made a lot of mistakes, he'd just say, let's just do it again, and he'd just be really patient with me. So overall, it was just a fantastic experience from the point of view of not having tried to do anything really creative for a long time, and then doing a whole album. And and to start with, I didn't even know if we'd be able to do an album. We were going to do an EP, but then eventually, like I said, wrote a few more songs while we were recording it. So, I mean, that was the most amazing part of it, because, I grew up listening to, Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin and stuff. And I always hear stories about how they would write a song in the sound check and then put it in the show that evening. Well, we pretty much done that with this song, All the Bananas. We just completed writing it just before the gig, absolutely nailed it on the gig. And then we're in the studio with it the next day. So I thought, yeah, I'm sort of treading on the toes of giants here.
So finally, can you tell my listeners, where can they find you on your social media, please?
Well, we're on Instagram, and that's Joff Lowson Trio. So Joff Lowson, Lowson, JOFF Lowson Trio, Joff Lowson Trio. And that's our main social media outlet. I've got a YouTube channel, Joff Lowson, and which I have other stuff on there as well. And we're also on Facebook, and that's also Joff Lowson Trio on Facebook. So you can follow us on there. So yeah, please like and follow us.
Thank you for letting me chat to you today.
Cheers, Ruben. Nice to meet you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.